So in a town of 6,000 people in Sidney, Nebraska, we built a photo studio, a pre-press department to handle those photos and enhance the images and the color of those images, and built a network that could create catalog pages.
You drooled when you looked through the catalog. All of those things that you would go through page by page, and you didn't want those products, you needed those products.
While mail order was the name of the game, it wasn't long before telephones started playing a key role in the business.
When I started the 800 service, it was myself and two women, and that was back in the late 70s or early 80s.
So overwhelming was the success of the catalogs that coping with the rapidly growing demand strained the company and even the limited infrastructure found in western Nebraska.
In Sidney, Nebraska, the number of phone lines that came into Sidney would not handle the incoming calls we'd have during the holiday season. There was a point where we actually shut the phone system down in Sidney because too many phone calls came into western Nebraska. That really triggered the opening of our telemarketing center in Kearney, Nebraska. We had to move east to expand our telemarketing and really to handle all the 800 calls from our customers.
About 1993, I think it was, a decision was made that we ought to do some specialty catalogs. So we did a fly fishing catalog, and we did a fishing catalog, we did a marine catalog. And that specialty catalog business grew and really expanded the merchandise selection. This year we will mail about 120 million catalogs. We have over 70 different titles, catalogs that we mail.
You know, in the catalog business, it's like everybody has a store on the same corner, and eventually the best guy wins, and I think that's exactly what happened.
By the early 1980s, the name Cabelas had become emblematic for those whose passions for the nation's wild places ran deep. By then, it would be difficult to encounter a hunter or angler anywhere in America who didn't associate the Cabelas name with mountain camps and a wide variety of fishing destinations, the kinds of places millions of Americans dreamed of experiencing. The people at Cabelas never took lightly the responsibility that came with outfitting their customers for these adventures, whether it was a trip of a lifetime or a trip to the local lake.
You know, the customer service is, from the very beginning, and I remember even before I ever worked for Cabelas, it was a hallmark of the company, something that Cabelas has always hung its hat on. And I think it stems back, well, it definitely stems back to Jim and Dick, and is treat other people the way you'd like to be treated.
We based everything on the way my dad treated his customers. You know, we've always said the customer's always right.
That's a message Jim Cabela took to heart as well. In fact, from the very beginning, he made it a point to read all customer letters to make sure concerns were addressed.
You can get any kind of an answer from your manager that everything's going great, but if you listen to the customer, you'll find out where the real problems are.
Well, the culture of Cabelas has been since day one that the folks that have been here have been users of the product, and Jim and Dick have instilled that philosophy, like I say, since day one.
One day he comes home and he says, "We're going to Africa." And I said, "I've never shot a rifle, so I didn't know." And he said, "Well, you're going to go out and learn how to shoot one." So I did. I practiced every day for 2 weeks, and we went out, and I was 50 years old at the time. I fell in love with it, like everybody else does, I guess, that it's a passion.
You know, the first thing that Jim and Dick and Dennis have always strived to do is to hire the people that are really pretty passionate about outdoor sports, hunting and fishing. They use the products that they are responsible for.
Jim and Dick have always wanted the people to use the product, test the product, find out what was wrong with it, and try to make it better.
We spent a lot of time outside hunting and fishing. The first week I was there, I got there on a Wednesday. Saturday was the opening of duck season, so it was immediately everybody was going to get together Saturday morning at 4 o'clock and go duck hunting.
Back in the days, it seemed like if you had to go to a funeral, you had to take vacation to go. But if you wanted to go hunting or fishing, you could go any day you wanted.
For legions of budding outdoor gear manufacturers, Cabelas became the marketing vehicle that helped them grow their businesses and share in the American dream. For no one is that more true than Tim Leatherman, the creator of the pioneering multi-tool now found in hunting and fishing camps across the globe.
I thought of the idea for the idea that eventually turned into the Leatherman tool in 1975 on a trip in Europe. And the idea was, in essence, to put a pair of pliers in a pocket knife. It was Cabelas that gave Leatherman tool its very first order. In that first year, when we were hoping to make and sell 4,000 tools, we were actually able to make and sell 30,000 tools.
For Jim Crumley, the founder of Modern Sporting Camouflage, an early association with Cabelas brought rewards he couldn't have imagined.
The one thing that stands out over my years and relationship with the folks at Cabelas is as a vendor, them, the buyers, and their buyers, are always willing to listen, to look at new things, to try new things. They always said to me, you know, we want to give the sportsman the opportunity to purchase, you know, the good products that our industry has to offer.
For the Columbia Sportswear Company, Cabelas again proved the right sales vehicle at the right time.
I think Tim Boyle, he's the president of Columbia, and when you listen to his presentation to investors, he talks about those early years. Without companies like Cabelas that wanted to put the Cabelas brand on the Columbia product, their company probably would never have got started.
We started doing business with Cabelas, I think, probably in the early 70s. And I remember traveling to Sydney, Nebraska, which is a long ways from anywhere.
The relationship with Cabelas to our industry relating to Columbia Sportswear was very, very important because we got incredible feedback.
You could see that they had a significant passion for the business.
And since they are such leaders, that it really helped us to design our garments to fit into their program.
That passion for the business and industry leadership developed naturally at Cabelas, where a dedicated group of people who loved hunting and fishing often spend time in the field and on the water with manufacturers and vendors, testing and evaluating products being considered for inclusion in a Cabelas catalog.
And one of the neat things about the relationship with Cabelas and Gore from the very beginning is that we were real users. And so I can remember back in the early days with Dennis Hybe and Pat Snyder, working with them as we found challenges in the marketplace. In fact, even going to the extent of going in the rain room and realizing that all the seams needed to be sealed. And the whole idea was based on trying to collectively come together and build solutions together.